I love the music. The DJ is incredible.
The people are really awesome.
Headshot. Sit down. And do it. Pass out. Wake up. Hate it.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. My name is Alchemix. You've stumbled upon the Alchemix channel, and I'm glad you stopped in today because we're going to be taking a look at a pretty cool piece of gear. This is called the Akai MPK Mini MK3. As you can imagine, if it manages to get to a third model kind, chances are it's a pretty popular product, and I can see why it is. I never played with any of the first ones, but it's really everything I had hoped it would be and a lot more, because like I was excited to get it, but like now that I have it, I don't leave the house without it, and that's being real. In fact, I highly recommend you grab yourself one of these, because this bad boy was like 20 bucks on Amazon. It's just a little padded semi-hard shell case with a handle on it, and it makes it a lot easier to lug it around. Not that it's heavy. It weighs about 1.5 pounds, a little bit over. But I'll take a little extra weight for something that has a build quality that feels superior. It's in a different class than the Novation Launch Key 25. What first made me want to have a smaller portable keyboard, my buddy DJ West Coast, shout out, you're my boy. He let me borrow his Launch Key 25, and it was a ton of fun to play with. However, the keys on that thing, it felt like you could give it a good flick from underneath, and it would just fly across the room. It did not feel like it was weighted at all. It felt extremely flimsy and hollow when you press those keys. This is completely different. They're definitely not like grand piano keys, but it has a much more professional product kind of feel than that Novation did. And I'm not talking trash on the Novation. It was a great little piece. The drum pads on this are completely better than the Novation as well. I think those Novation launch keys, those pads, I think they're more for sequencing than for actually playing. I could pound out some rhythms on them, but I wouldn't prefer to. This, if I don't want to reach over and hit the MPC Live, I'm just going to play them on here, and it's surprisingly close. Like, these are definitely a little more stiff. These feel real heavy duty. There's a little more give to these, but the amount of sensitivity on them, you can actually see on the LED screen. It shows you how hard you're pressing, and it's articulate. Like, I was impressed. Like, I remember when I did the review for the MPC Live here, one of my complaints was that the velocity sensitivity, it's not quite up there with the MK3, the machine MK3 when I say that. And I went into the settings since that review video and I adjusted a lot of stuff, and it improved. They're better, but it's definitely not as articulate as a machine MK3. I love my MK3. However, it doesn't change how I feel about the MPC Live. What this does for me with the onboard batteries, with the touch screen, I take this to work with me every single day. I take an hour for my lunch. I eat my food on my 15-minute break before lunch so that I can spend the entire hour at lunch just making another beat. And I try and make a new beat every day. I love this piece of gear. I think the MPC Live 2 looks amazing. However, I don't think it's enough of a step up for me to want to invest in it. I still feel like I learned something new on my MPC Live every single day. This product is so deep. It is so complex, and I love it. There's pretty much very few negative things I can say about the MPC Live. I will say this. I still wish to death with the MPC Live 2 that they would have made it so you could connect a mouse Bluetooth. The touchscreen is great. It is also infuriating at times. So, Akai, if you're listening, please give us a firmware update. Let us use a mouse with this, because that would be a heaven-sent functionality upgrade. We would be so appreciative of that. So when you get your MPK Mini 2025 here, it comes set up to work with Ableton. When you hold the program select, you can see here it's set up to connect and plug and play with Ableton. It can also work with Logic, FL Studio, GarageBand. I had to set it to MPC, and I noticed some functionality improvements once I changed it. I didn't realize it was in Ableton mode when I first got it. You're going to find that pretty much any of the features you have here, you can hold down the button and tweak some of these knobs, and you can adjust a lot of the settings on there. Basically, these pads are going to play whatever you have on your pads here. You can switch banks and get the top pads that you would have up there. It's just so solid. Like it really is. You can see here, it's powered off of the MIDI connection. That's pretty much the only other connection here is for a sustain pedal, which I think is awesome. They added that on there. I don't take the sustain pedal with me to work every day, but the fact that they put it on there, that's really cool, because I don't think the Novation had that. I might be wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. So instead of a mod wheel, I love the fact they put a little four-way joystick on it, and that's going to let you pitch it up or down. If you go to the left, it's going to pitch it down. You go to the right, it's going to pitch it up. It's a lot of fun to play with. And if you hold it up or down, you're going to get some modulation. Just a lot of fun. Like there's so many different ways you can play with it. One of the most useful tools I found, I don't know why, again, if somebody can tell me how I can change this, even when I hit the full level, it seems to work on the pads, but it doesn't work on the keys. It kind of records it at a pretty low velocity when I hit the keys. So if there's something I'm doing wrong there, y'all could help me out with, please do. Let's see. So you got your note repeat here. That's pretty obvious. And then you can go here and change the BPM. You can change the length of the notes that it's hitting at. And again, if you don't want to hit the knobs, which are a little bit harder to remember everything, it actually shows you right here at the top of the keys. So we can change that from 16th notes to 8th notes. And if you need to go up an octave, you can go up and down an octave. I believe you can go up and down 10 octaves. It gets a little frustrating sometimes when you find a key and then you realize you're running out of space. You want to continue on, so you have to record like half of your melody, then switch up an octave, wait for it to scroll back around and record the other. But honestly, that's a good skill to get used to. It's just something you're going to have to deal with as a producer. A couple of years ago, I bought a Complete Control A61 to go with my Machine MK3. And I love that product. I have nothing bad to say about it. However, I'm not classically trained on piano. I'm trying to learn now. And it was a bit too much. Like, I wanted to be able to play melodies and counter melodies without having to switch octaves. And it's great that I have the potential to do that, but my skill level wasn't there. The nice thing about this, only having 25 keys in front of me, what I do is I just use the classical theory, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. You use those wholes and half steps. Depending on what note you start on, that's how you discover the key you're in. I like to take these little note markers and then just put one on each key so I know which keys I want to play to stay in the right key and not make these melodies that are clashing or incoherent. And this little 25 key keyboard has just done more to really help me know, like, okay, this is the key of D. These are the keys in the key of D. These are the ones I'm going to play in the key of F or whatever than my A61 has, because it just simplifies it, forces me to focus on just that one thing instead of trying to do too much. It's not something I couldn't have learned on the A61. It's just I definitely have a love for this piece right here. I will say my Akai MPC Live, I can usually get through 5 or 6 one-hour sessions making beats with one single charge on the battery. That's pretty awesome. When I have the MPK Mini plugged into it, I get about 3 sessions. So it does eat a lot of extra battery. So what I've been doing, I'll plug it in, I'll make the melody first, and then I'll disconnect the piano so I can do the rest of the loop, the beat, whatever I'm working on without drawing some extra battery power. One of the most quick and easy ways to get yourself some melodies punched out is to use the Arpeggiator here. It works great. You turn it on and it's basically just going to play whatever keys that you press. And there's a whole lot of different functions you can set up on it. If you're holding that button down, let's go ahead and add some swing to it so that we are sounding less like a computer made this for us. There's way too much music like that nowadays. So we're going to add some swing so it's got more of a human element. I'm going to change the scale. Instead of ascending, I just changed it to go down. Let's go ahead and make it run through 4 octaves instead of just 1. And I'm going to turn the latch on, which is awesome. Basically, that means it's just going to play that for me until I hit some other keys. So now we can basically make sure our arpeggiator's armed. We're going to arm our sequencer to record here. We're going to pick our notes, and then we'll just let it basically write in the sequence for us. And like I was saying, it always seems to record at like half volume even when I have the full level on. I didn't have it there, but we can then of course come in here, just highlight our notes and bring up the velocity. So that's the easiest way to get yourself a sequence. We now have all of our notes right here on the screen. You're also going to want to make sure that you set your grid to something that'll be able to pick up any swing you add to it. I had to set it to 30-second notes here instead of your standard 16, because then it's still just going to put it on the standard grid. Now we can turn off the metronome because we can hear the beat. So let's go ahead and add some drums to this bad boy. I'm going to... That's another thing I've struggled with on the MPC Live. Like, when you undo something, it often undoes way too much. Where I've noticed on the machine MK3, it will only do like the very last step unless you highlight a bunch more than that. So let's cut the drums out and we'll go and put that back to a 16th scale and try one more time. We'll try 2 or 3 more times. Whatever it takes. Alright, let's take out that last slide. Now let's go back to the keys. I'm going to add a little bit of the TRK modulation to it. Kind of give it a bit of a tape warble effect. So you can see how useful of a tool this becomes for somebody like me. I use samples. I record off old vinyl to get my melodies. Then I pitch it up or down, and I chop it up. And the big problem is if you do end up accidentally making a hit track, whoever made that, if they are able to figure it out, they'll come after you and they'll try and take your money. Like learning to play your own instruments, learning to make your own melodies, learning to create from scratch, it's a very useful tool for us. I still love to sample. It helps me be inspired on how to build the rest of the beat, and then if I'm really smart, I take that sample out entirely before I release that. And it's a struggle. So like, this has been a really wonderful tool, this MPK Mini, to help me begin to create more of my own product. I don't have to lose sleep at night like, oh, is somebody gonna come after me and tell me, yo, that's mine, and want some money for that? Because let's be honest, like, I ain't got money. I ain't trying to give you none. So it's very rarely that I have next to nothing negative that I can say about a product. I try and give you guys the good and the bad, but genuinely, like, there's not much I have to say about this product that is bad. I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you're probably new to production. You're probably looking at how to get started. This is an excellent way. There are tons of producers, big name successful producers, that use this as their main controller. Larry O, he's a blessing to the community. He uses this in FL Studios. I don't really see him use a lot of other gear. Like, this is something that I highly recommend without any reservations, and I think it's going to help you really begin to get off on the right foot with your journey into music production. So I hope that some of you guys have been able to find this useful. I appreciate and I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take it easy.